Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Hitesh and I hope you all are doing well. So in today's video, we will be covering another interesting topic about the suspending functions in Coroutine, how we use them and what is the difference between the suspending and the blocking function that we use in Kotlin. And guys, this video is basically, is in the continuation of our last video where we have talked about the coroutines in Kotlin, how do we use them and how helpful they are in Kotlin. And so without further ado, let's dive into the explanation. So in Kotlin, suspending and blocking refer to different ways of handling tasks that may take time. Example, network request or file input output, right? The key difference lies in how they affect the thread's execution. So let's start with the suspending function. What are suspending function and how useful they are in coroutine in Kotlin? So in a suspending function does not block the thread it is running on. Instead, it suspends the coroutine's execution and allows other coroutines or operations to continue on the same thread. The suspension happens only when a function marked with a suspend keyword is called. The thread is freed up to perform other tasks until the operation completes. It is a non-blocking, efficient way to handle asynchronous operations without freezing the thread. So I hope, as the definition says, you must have already understood that what suspending function does. It basically helps to execute any kind of operations into background. It takes that operations into the background thread and it goes in a pause state while allowing other operations to execute at that point in time. And as soon as it receives back the results, it executes again. It comes back on the same thread and executes its functionality. So it doesn't block the thread. First thing, it helps in asynchronous operation executions, and it is only called when we call a function with a keyword marked suspend. So let's try and understand with an example. Assuming there is a run blocking thread, this is a coroutine scope. As I've mentioned earlier also in the last video, we will speak about the run blocking or the type of launch modes, how to launch or how to start the coroutines. But just for understanding, I've taken this example. So assuming we are starting one coroutine where we are trying to print before delay, and then the suspend coroutine will be called like launch delay of some milliseconds, and then it will print something, and again outside this block we will print end of run blocking. So the result of this block is before delay is printed, then end of run blocking is printed, and in the last you can see after delay, which is this one. So if you can understand this, it did not block the execution of this line. Rather, what it did is it printed this line first and then immediately it printed this, and after that it printed this one. So internally it started, it launched this coroutine to execute this function, but it asked the other thread to perform that particular operation. Meanwhile, it waited for this much of time to execute this operation. So here a delay of 1000 milliseconds suspends the coroutine for 1 second without blocking the thread, allowing the printl end of run blocking to execute immediately. So this was about the suspending function. Now let's talk about the blocking function. So blocking means that the current thread is stopped until the task is finished. This prevents any other operations from being performed on the blocked thread. Traditional input-output operations, right, like reading from disk or making network requests, blocking the thread, leading to potential inefficiencies, especially if performed on the main or UI thread of an Android app. So as the definition suggests, it blocks the particular thread and it won't allow to execute other threads, unlike the suspending function does, and until it completes the execution of that particular thread, it will block and it will keep on hold the other threads as well. So the example would be, assuming there are 3 lines again, print L, which prints before sleep, then it blocks the thread for 1 second and then it prints something. So the output would be before sleep, and if it waits for 1 second, if you see this, and then after sleep. So that's how it happened, right? It did not allow to print the third line and then executed this one. Rather, it blocked the execution of this thread and it waited for 1 second, and then after that it executed the after sleep line. So this is the basically the traditional way thread.sleep function, which blocks the thread for 1 second, preventing other operations for happening on the same thread. So this will block the thread and it will not allow the execution. So that's what the blocking function does. So the key differences between the suspend and the block functions is thread blocking. In blocking, the thread is stopped until the task completes. In suspending, the coroutine is paused, but the thread is free to execute other tasks. That's what I have explained in the last example as well. Efficiency. Let's talk about efficiency. The suspending functions are more efficient for asynchronous operations as they avoid freezing the thread, whereas blocking wastes resources by stopping the thread. In Android development, blocking the main thread, the UI thread, will freeze the UI, while suspending functions will keep the app responsive. That's what, guys, if you have different operations to execute, and assuming you have five or six operations to execute, and out of 5-6 you have one operation that has to happen on the background thread, for example making an API call, and rest 4 operations you want to just the smaller operations you want to interact with the UI, or you want to show something in the UI. So the best place is the place you can make use of the suspending function, and you make the particular third or fourth, the background operation function, as a suspending function, which will happen in the background. It will go, it will execute, and once the result is arrived, it will resume back and it will execute. Meanwhile, it will allow the other threads, the other 4 operations, to execute on the thread. So the Android example for non-blocking network, as I've already mentioned, like this is the API call which is going to happen, some network call we are going to make, and then it will, in this example, right, it's a network call that suspends the coroutine while it waits for the response, right, this one. So the UI remains responsive because the main thread is not blocked, this one, it will be responsive. Suspending is idle for asynchronous task as it allows threads to continue executing other tasks while waiting. So that's how it internally works. The function A, assuming the API call, it got suspended, the thread is still alive and it is still open to execute other threads. So function B on UI thread will be executed, and now assuming it has received the result, so it will resume back and it will execute on the same thread. So that's pretty much about the suspending function and the differences between suspend and the blocking functions. So what we are going to learn next is about the dispatchers, how to start a coroutine, and different type of scopes. So guys, this is pretty much for today, and if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. If you have any other specific questions, be it related to the same topic or any other topic, please feel free to drop a suggestion in the comments. I would be more than happy to create more content for you. Happy learning, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.